Welcome, people of life, light, and the dark, and those illuminating nature. My motto is my motto here on my channel is if you found your pot of gold within yourself, come see me. And with that said, we're going to get into the 7 principles of Ma'at. The goddess Ma'at is the embodiment of the ancient Egyptian 7 principles of Ma'at, with are truth, balance, order, harmony, righteousness, morality, and justice. It was expected that the priests, pharaohs, and their families embodied these principles. Although with every member of the community, life was believed in such a way that these principles guided all actions and relationships. Many times here on my channel, I talk about in the beginning, I did a video talking about how if we all, before we all can get together and make moves, we must be balanced with self. And I talked about authenticity, and all of this is your road to healing self within self. Then we can come together and have relationships. Many times on YouTube, people are quick to have relationships, and I see it become disasters, and hear people badgering each other live on videos, yelling, screaming at each other. No, they like my kids say, my children say, my children, do this to me. They incite mean energy in me. And my daughter, she mentions it when the other daughter is doing it. She's inciting mean energy within me. You're bringing your whole aura down, your whole energy level down, and those people are bringing you to their level. So once again, we're doing what the Caucasians have done to us over and over again. We're bringing ourselves to a level, their level, instead of lifting each other up, putting high frequency energy within each other and dealing with each other accordingly. And realizing that we're at fault. Many times we are at fault. We're at fault for even getting involved. So that's when discernment comes in. Should I have ever gotten involved with these people? Or should I have known, sensed? That's what in tune with oneself and intuition comes in. One who did not live or rule and lead by these principles are considered unfit for the position during the times Egypt's of the greatest spiritual heights. These principles can and should reflect on our modern world. Here are the definitions. Truth, the ability to understand the difference between the real and the unreal. Of course, this is subject to the definition of reality, and this interpretation reality is grounded in the belief of the greatest goodness, that which permeates all that exists, that all living creatures are sacred and are spiritual beings deserving of respect and honor. Justice, the state in which there is equity for all persons, for all creatures, for planet on which all of these rely for life. Now, justice, we see, and I talked to a friend last night, and he was like, people just don't want to see. They don't want to see. You don't want to see the oppositional energies on the earth. And you don't want to see that the fact of it is that it's color coded. Racism is not a new thing. As long as there's been a Black person on the planet who's been enriched by nature, We have been rich. You see, one thing our people do not understand, because we don't want to understand, because understanding means you're on their level of seeing things. But I should say overstand. But I really think that you should understand this by now, because it's in your DNA, it's in your experience, your Akashic record, that you have never on this earth had justice in 7,000 years that these people have been on the planet. Because as long as you've been rich and they've been poor by nature, there has been racism. It may be been by a different name, but as long as you've been Black and they've been poor, health, white, without substance, you have been envied. You have been coveted, for everything that you have has been coveted as well. You have been controlled. You have been transformed, and we have allowed it. We have allowed it because of our lack of knowledge of self, and for that you haven't received the justice, because you're still looking for them to do something that they cannot do. All they can do is for themselves. They don't know how to do for us. Their mind, their consciousness, and if you're a Bible thumper, you should know this. You should not allow them to make you see and think in their form. You should be able to read that Bible and critically think what it's trying to tell you. And what it's telling you is, we covered up your world with our world. And so basically, we're under principalities, but principles are good, depending on the consciousness. So their principalities is wicked, and our principalities were always good. That's what it's trying to tell you. On this planet that we live, there's been this opposition against our energy, and we've allowed it. We've allowed them to win. And we sit back and wonder. We sit back and wonder these little corny things about their movies. I look at their movies, but their movies don't give them a pass. They try to, just because they tell us things, what happens before they do it, don't think that's a ritual. That's not a pass for them, and it's not a ritual. It's more mind control. They need us to think in the way they need us to think. That's giving them power. That's giving them power. Equity means that all have equal opportunity for basic needs to be met. Food, shelter, water, safety, medical care, dignity, respect, community, to live in peace, to fully and meaningfully participate and contribute to society, to offer gifts, talents, or assets towards the good of the whole. Harmony, the state of being in which different expressions of Mother Nature's God, goddesses, spirit, humans, animals, plants, etc., etc., move together in ways that create alignment and beauty. Each expression must be authentic and express fully all that it is created to be. It is only through authenticity that harmony can truly be achieved and occur naturally, when each entity is being true to itself, to its spiritual reality. Balance. Oh, and they cannot be true to themselves because they can't accept the fact that we are rich spiritually and that we inherited this planet, and that everything is really ours in reality, that they had to create an illusion that, like I said, this illusion is deteriorating. It does nothing but deteriorate. So they live in a world of deterioration because they eliminate man. Who do we have to go to for our cars, since we've gotten high tech, it's always got to be a man that we have to deal with. We always have to pay him. So it illuminates man. We always reward man. We don't, we've been cut off from dealing with nature and gaining from nature, which never deteriorates as long as we're doing our part. But because of that, they suffer deterioration. And that's what we call death. Balance, a state in which the internal and external environments of an individual or group are aligned with the goddesses, Mother Nature. Now, they put forth, like I said, they put forth the man before the woman. And in this society, that's why everything's out of whack and off balance. You can't do that because every creature comes from a woman, the female. And when we're born female first, always born female. So that feminine energy that is represented in the physical existence is being totally discounted and mistreated and just totally abused or just not taken in consideration at all. So that's what gives us the state of imbalance instead of this balance that we need to be in one another and the rest of the creation. It is the experience of existing in the place where opposites meet. And because opposites are not acknowledged in a balanced manner, we're still in a state of imbalance because we're not aware of these oppositions. We just think that everything's one, and we're confounding the nature. We're confounding the nature. The creation point where new life is generated and new possibilities come into being. Order, a state of being in which things are arranged in ways that are uncluttered, free of excess, clear. Reciprocity is the reality that what comes around goes around. There is a motion rhythm of cause and effect, give and take, forward and backwards to every aspect of creation. Propriety means to be and to do what is right, according to the truth that all living creatures are spiritual beings and deserve to exist. This means to do no harm to another being, creature, or aspect of the goddesses beginning with self. See, we naturally have this. This is naturally within the Black man and Black woman. But because the soul has been removed, they're quick to do this to ourselves. We're quick to harm ourselves faster than we are protecting ourselves. And that's a state of imbalance. Again, if you don't have none of these principles, you're in a state of chaos. And I really know that this is the problem, and I'm going to show you why. The principles of Ma'at were an important value of the Egyptian culture. The teachings about how to live in order to find union with God's higher spirit was part of the life training of the ancient Egyptian people from infancy. So this is easy for you to grasp and teach your children very easily. And I'm trying to teach my children very easily that they have a higher self that they have to heed to. For everything they do, they have to think, is this right? Is this the right path for me? Am I going down and doing the right things? Stuff like that. And that's really simple way of teaching your children and guiding them to their higher selves, their God, their self-God within. Because we have to work within. The purpose of this union was both for the good and benefit of the individual. but even more so for the society and the world. Let me repeat that, because a lot of people, is this saying that Black people were always warring and doing all this stuff? No, I'm going to start from the beginning and let you know the truth. But even more so for the society and the world. This was good that you went in within yourself, balanced yourself out, understood these things. This is how we did it. But even more so for the society and the world. Each person should live a life in which the principles of God were embodied externally as well as internally, balanced. So, with that said, let me see. Mm. Hey, welcome, Miss Life Lessons. She said, they envy us. I see it in their eyes and their action. Definitely. They envy you. So there's no reason for you to hate being who you are. I always studied the opposition when I was younger. I always studied them. I tried to, all through my experience as well. It's kind of like you're a scientist and you're actually experimenting out here. And I did that. And I knew that, I've always been into movies and stuff. And I was like, well, I'm going to live my life on purpose. I'm going to experience what come may, and I'm going to deal with it accordingly, Even though, we always have the parent from the side that always concerned for us and don't understand that, I'm just living out my experiences here on the planet. So basically, they have a reason. They have a reason to envy us. And the thing about it is, how do they deal with it? They can't deal with it. They don't have the faculties to deal with it at all. That's what's innate. That's what's innate about it. And they can try to deal with it like what's that white lady, Jane Allen? She tried to deal with it, but she still has idiocracies about her. Now she wants to be Black. She thinks every Caucasian is Black. Okay, their mentality is always going to be destructive towards us. You cannot be us. You cannot deal with us, and you cannot live amongst us. That's the whole fact of life, not the fact of light bearers, but that's a fact of life. And I'm going to show you today just why. Because their opposition energies is just energy. That's all we are. We're energies in the physical form. And representative of those physical forms of those energies is white and Black. So let's get it. I love working remotely. It means less interaction with these creatures. I feel great. Yes, I'm so glad that you are, and now I'm going to show you how you have the power to deal with your life. You have the power to deal with your experience, to, um, you know, deal with situations and make them great for yourself, because we inherited this planet and we don't have to think about, they don't think about us. That's the key. They don't have to think about us. A lot of times people think that they have to take our experience. You're wasting your time. A lot of these YouTubers are wasting their time. All they have to do is show our people. When you talk to our people only, that's good, because you're not going to change Caucasians. We're not going to get them to do anything for us. And I'm going to show you why in a minute. Okay. How y'all doing? Hey, Camp. Welcome, Camp. How are you doing? I hope all is well. women have a gene, full control of the Black community was a democratic agenda. Exactly. You're right, forced coalescence. And the whole thing with that is the agenda is deeper. They even made our men feel useless. They made our men feel useless. And when they made our men feel useless and powerless, our men became in dereliction of their duties. And because they're in dereliction of their duties, it's beneficial to both parties now that they can ignore the Black man. What we need our Black men to come back in full force, just like the Terminator. They need to heal, come back, and be love been men. Love been who they are. They use the gay agenda. They use everything. And I'm going to show you where this is not nothing new. They keep taking us around and around in circles. They take us around and around in circles over and over again. And we're a new breed, of course. And we're not, they disconnected us, and they used race. They used their race, and they prompt themselves up to make us hate who we are and want to subscribe to who they are. Okay, let's go to what you said about the feminine energy deity is spot on. Yes, it knocks the planet out of whack. It knocks us out of balance because we have a perception of the feminine energy. And I wanted to say, as a studier of history, of course, I'm an angry damn Black woman. But you know what? Knowing thyself makes me less of an angry Black woman. But a lot of Black women don't have that advantage to know themselves because they've been put in this situation already, where they for survival. We've been put in this mind of survival, and that's the animal mind. That's what the ancients were telling us. Don't let the animal mind take over the intellect, the brain. That's why you had the that statue. I can't think of the name of it, but I did a video on it, and that's what they were saying. But it has done that. They have achieved that with us here. That's why we get the title of the angry Black woman, and rightfully so. What do you expect? What do you want? We have every right to be angry. Let me tell you, if the tides were turned on white women, and you see it today, Karen is angry white woman these days because her fall is coming, and she knows it. So when the tide turns, you're going to have angry everything else. But what we have is our legacy to hold on to. We have our legacy, and I want our people to know about that. That we were the first Christians on the planet. And I don't mean religion, and I don't mean going to church and singing hallelujah. That wasn't necessary. Feeling the spirit and the kundalini wasn't necessary because we naturally had that rise. And we had it so much that when we seen the white people, of course, we would give it to them as well. Because we had no reason to think of opposition. We had no reason at that time to think about opposition. Just think about that. They laugh when you wear their hair, though. Yeah, they do. But I don't think it's their hair. Who's going around with lice hair? I don't think so. So I would laugh back at them because they don't know the difference between their hair and our hair. Just because we straighten our hair doesn't mean it's their hair. You see, get this. If it was their hair, we would be itching our heads all the time. We would have lice. But because it's not their hair and their hair texture, we don't wear their hair texture. Their hair texture, I dealt with white people's hair when I was younger. And their hair texture is nothing connected to our hair texture. Nothing connected to our hair texture. for next. All right. Well, let's get into it. And I would look at the other comments as they come. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate you guys. But let's look at the fall of Rome. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, I'm going to play this one first. And then I'm going to give y'all the picture, but I'm going to let him give y'all the information here. Okay. Let me put my banner on.
History of War, volume 4, page 323, talking about the Moors. He says, but desert land, extending to a great distance, and that beyond that, there are men, not black-skinned like the Moors, but very white in body and fair-haired. Now, this is from a Byzantine scholar in the 6th century before Islam. So again, we can already establish from research that there's so many mentions of the Moors being black long before Islam. So when you Google the Moors and you see this whole Muslim, definition, we know that that's bogus, that's bullshit. Now, the number one reason they give for the Dark Ages, if you look it up and do the research, they'll tell you that one, the reason why the Dark Ages happened is because Rome fell. The fall of Rome caused the Dark Ages. Now, the thing is, the fall of Rome was the rise of Rome. The fall of Rome, the fall of Europe, what brought about the Dark Ages was the rise of Rome and the rise of European powers. Plain and simple. It's just no way around it. It was the rise, because you have to think about, one, how could Rome be fallen? And you got to look at the timeline again for the Dark Ages between 500 AD and 1000 AD. This is supposed to be the time span or the time frame of the Dark Ages. But when you look at between this time of what was going on in Rome, first of all, one, how could Rome fall into a dark age? How could the Dark Ages be caused because Rome fell? When during that time you had Rome fighting the long war between them, the Persians, and Arabs. So if they fell during the 5th century AD or during the 6th century AD, and all the way up to when they came out into the Renaissance, how could they be fighting these wars? How could they be establishing so much power and setting up so many civilizations if they fell? Rome never fell. What fell was the African control of Rome and the rise of the European control of Rome. So it wasn't that Rome fell in the sense to where all Rome was done. It was the African rulership of Rome fell. Now, one of the things you got to realize is a lot of these countries was mixed race. You had, of course, as I was talking about in the beginning of the video, about how, white people started coming down, the Aryans started coming down. So you had the Aryans start coming down. I talked about this too in Buddhism DVD. The Aryans started coming down and mixing in. And the thing was, they was in Rome, they was mixing in a lot with the black rulers. They was rising in positions of power. That was the goal. So now when you get up to the point of Christianity, when Christianity comes into play and you have the Catholic Church starting, the whole Roman Church and everything, beginning in the 1st century AD, when all that was coming about, that was controlled by both black and white people. This is why when you have a lot of the Hebrew Israelites and a lot of Christians, when they want to say that the Bible is black and it's black, because when you go back and look at the research in Rome, you'll see that you have both control of Christianity under African powers and under European powers or white powers, both black and white people. But make no mistake, Rome was ruled by black people.
Now, yeah, this period possibly so, but it's okay.
This was,
Of course, we know that we accepted in these people without even knowing anything about their wicked oppositional ways. So we did have them amongst us for a short period of time, but then you're going to see what happens. The same thing in America.
Of course, the Roman Greek creation that they put in place and had basically, I guess, convinced the black leadership that this was the way to go. But it was both of them that basically was controlling the Roman Catholic Church during the first century. This is why you hear the rumors about the first pope being black, and people believe that Pope Victor I was black. Now, history will tell you, when you look this up and you look at this time frame, it will tell you straight out that the barbarians was the one who basically came into Rome and took over Rome, and conquered Rome and took it from the Romans. Now, as a matter of fact, if you look that up and you see, it says here in 476 CE, Romulus, the last of the Roman emperors in the West, was overthrown by the Germanic leader Odoacer, who became the first barbarian to rule in Rome. So, Rome had basically been established under Roman rulership for, 1,000 years, it's saying. So, you got to understand, and this is where critical thinking comes in, and you got to think about this. One, of course, the barbarians was white. The barbarians was Aryans. And when you got to understand, one, they was bred specifically for this reason, to conquer. They was bred to conquer. When you look at barbarians, they huge. They was bred for war, plain and simple. So, one, you got to ask yourself, when the Romans fell, when the barbarians came in and took over Rome, why would they keep the name Rome? They got the name. So you got to think about, one, usually when somebody conquers a land, they change the name immediately. There's no proof. There's no information that says that the barbarians came in and took the name. Two, if the barbarians came into Rome, and we all seen the barbarians, these big, stupid brutes, if they came in and took over Rome, how did the Catholic Church survive? Plain and simple. So you got to think about, one, the name not changing. And we know the name Rome, it comes from Romulus and Remus. So remember, Romulus supposed to have killed his brother Remus and basically established Rome and named it after himself. This is like supposedly Greek mythology or what have you, but pertains to Rome. And this was like in the 8th century BCE. So Rome been around for a long time. But of course, African people was there long before that. Again, history is written by the conquerors, not the conquered. So one, again, the name wasn't changed. Two, Rome stayed in power. How did Rome stay in power? How did the Catholic Church stay in power? I should say the Pope. The papacy still was gone. The papacy still was ruling. Why would they allow that? These barbarians just came out of nowhere and took over. So that's basically critical thinking right there. You got to really think about that. Name wasn't changed. You have the papacy continuing and basically still taxing, still basically doing what they was doing. And when you pay attention, it was the church that was basically ruling. So if you overthrow in Rome, you overthrow in the church. It's just that simple. But again, it wasn't the overthrowing of, Rome. It wasn't, the Romans being kicked out and these barbarians basically establishing this new rulership. It was the taking of Rome away from African people. It's just that simple. And again, there's no way that this could be going on when they fighting this whole war with the barbarians, that at the same time they still fighting this war with the Persians and Arabs. So you had Rome basically come in and take the whole northern part of Africa. Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt. So where you have Alexandria, Egypt, still white people there to this day. All these people are Roman people. This is why when you go to Morocco and stuff like that, Algeria, you see the white skin looking people, they look white. And you say, well, this is Africa. What is these white people doing in there? They are mixed with Roman. They are a mix of Romans, Africans, and Arabs, plain and simple. And these people are so ignorant. I can't even describe some of the stuff I've read from Moroccan people about Africa.
This is what happens when black men, this is the result of traitors. And he talks about this in this video, the traitor Moors. And this is the result of self-hate and also a way for them to conquer land. for them to conquer and take over land.
African people, because they are ignorant of their history. And they don't understand. They think that, Morocco was theirs and it didn't know belong to African people, ignorant of the facts. That, Africans were there long before them and they are Roman of Roman blood. Same thing in Spain. So you go to Spain and you say, well, Spain, but they're basically white people that speak Spanish. What is that? They're Romans. Understand the history. Romans, that's all they are. So when you understand one, Spanish is one of the Romance languages, or Romanance languages, however you want to pronounce it. You got Spanish, you have French, you have Italian, of course, or Latin, or what have you. And the Romans speak Latin. What do we call these people? We call them Latinos. Plain and simple. Put it together. It's not no coincidence. They're the same people. You look at Puerto Ricans, they speak Spanish, just like in Spain, Spanish. It all goes together. So you got to understand what took place in the world and why certain people are in certain parts of the world, because they are of Roman blood and they conquered their way into these territories that was once African. So when you start putting all the pieces together, you can see why certain people are in certain places. Now, to play fair, you still have Romans. Romans did exist in Spain before then. If you go back, you have Romans in Spain in the 3rd century BCE. When it was called the Hispania. This is where you get, the Hispanics. Hispanics. Hispania is what they call the Iberian Peninsula. So it all ties in together. So you do have a history of Romans in Spain, 3rd century BCE, long before then. But of course, African people was there before that. Also, you have Romans that was in Liberia, same time. So you got to understand, again, as I said, when you go back and look, even the Egyptians show you themselves that citizens of Egypt, some of them was white. When you go back during that history, 3rd century BCE, you had Romans, remember, Rome, 8th century or 7th century BCE established, so you still have Romans around that time. But you had them in Spain with the Africans, and they had took some of that land that the Africans, of course, took back. It wasn't like came into a space that wasn't theirs, but the Africans let them stay. Same thing in Libya when they came into Libya, and they coexisted for hundreds of years. It's just that simple. They coexisted for hundreds of years. So when you're looking at the Egyptians talking about white people being citizens of Egypt, that's why they was coming into Egypt. They was learning. When the Romans admit themselves that they was coming into Egypt and learning, they're not talking about they came all the way from Rome. They was already there. They was in Spain. It was in Libya, which is right next to Egypt.
Those whole areas were a large empire of Egypt. Basically, all of that was empire, one big empire, which Egypt was a huge empire. So that's what that was.
And they was coming in. They was coexisting with the Africans for a while. And this is how they, the Africans was teaching them and it was learning and what have you. There was no problems at that time until whoever, at the top had aspirations for, domination. So, right around this time, when you have Ferdinand and Isabella on the...
I think that this is a perfect time to be discussing this because you are able to see what our ancestors, even the ancients dealt with when their goodness and their belief in humanity, because we fell at a level where we started transitioning our minds. Of course, the sun, we fell, and that's what he's talking about, the fall of us as African people on this planet. And not only the fall of us, but the fall of what we had to give to the planet, which was within us, which was that high frequency energy. So that high frequency energy, when we think of everything being energy, and when we got involved with this lower energy of people, which people call evil, and our energy was good energy, it got overtaken by the wicked energy, the principalities. That's why you see The world is ruled by principalities and wickedness in high places. Because it's a new world, it was a new world, the Dark Ages, he's explaining, that came in and have taken over what was once balanced truth, justice with lies, injustice, imbalanced, men wanting to be women, um, just wickedness, just evilness, pushing the woman out, um, all of this. So when I'm going to talk later.
Throne, our guy, good old Christopher Columbus, who didn't discover shit. Christopher Columbus, believe it or not, was inside the Alhambra castle that the Moors built, getting the blessing from Queen Isabella and Ferdinand to basically go and do what he was doing. Now, make no mistake, Columbus was a Roman. He was a Roman. He was just under the control of Spaniards, who was basically Romans. As I said, but he was a Roman. So he got the blessing to basically go out and do what he was doing. And on that ship, he had Moors.
And let me go back a little bit.
The ancient Egyptians, as far as our position in many different civilizations throughout the world. So we don't have to debate that. It's just so much controversies wrapped up in the Moors, which we're going to straighten out in this video. But it's a lot more history that goes with African people than a lot of people understand. That's before Kemet, during the time of Kemet, around the same time. And we put so much focus on Kemet that we forget about the rest of Africa and what was going on. If it wasn't for the Moors, Africans wouldn't have been enslaved by the Arabs, wouldn't have been enslaved by the Europeans. The Moors was traitors. Just no way around that. And I wish it was any other way to put it, but that's the truth. But you got to understand what Moors. Now, there's a lot of confusion and deception surrounding the Moors, and that's the reason why. Now, Moor means black. Just no way around that. They're going to try to tell you when you look up Moor that Moors were Arab Muslims. Bullshit. They was black. Moor has always meant black. That's basically how they pertain to a learned African. That name was given to the Africans by Greeks, by Romans. Moor means black. And a Moor to the Romans and Greeks was basically a smart African. Plain and simple. An African that had knowledge of math, astrology, science, building, and what have you. They were called Moors. And the only reason why they try to couple it with the Arab Muslims is to establish a faulty timeline. To establish a faulty timeline so they could try to say that the Moors basically began with Islam, when Moors existed long before Islam. So you got to understand that. This is how they're basically trying to steal the North, as we're going to talk about. They're trying to steal North Africa. They're trying to make it as if Africans never stepped foot in North Africa, which is retarded. And you actually have, people who believe that Africans never existed. Good morning, my name's Bonnie. And I just tell you how, scrambled a lot of people's brains are. You have a lot of, Italian, Spanish, Greek words that's pertaining to the Moors, that's pertaining to either darkness or black. You have Moris, you have Moraz, you have Mora. You have a lot of words that means darkness or brunette or has some kind of a word pertaining to black people. So you find these words all throughout the ancient world. About mulatto, when a black person mixes. All this pertains to the Moors. This is just how we can, just put in all this information in the direction of Moors being black Africans and not Muslims. It's just that simple. Were there Moorish Muslims? Of course, but this was later. And these are the traders. These are the ones that I'm talking about that traded. Before Islam, you had Moors who was just basically throughout Africa, who were smart, who were scientists, mathematicians, astrologers, what have you, who had knowledge that was teaching the Europeans, that was teaching the Persians that came in, or whoever came in and got information. Africa was the hub. It's just that simple. Africa was the hub. Everybody was coming into Africa during the time. And they was learning, of course, from African people. So you had some African people that had the knowledge and some didn't. Some regular Africans that was just, people growing up or just working. And you had the Moors. You had people who just knew and had this knowledge. These was the Moors. And long before these people who traded on us, you had already the established civilizations of smart African people who was referred to as Moors. There's just no way around it. So again, they're trying to interject Islam in there because this is the time where the Moors was on the side of the Europeans when they traded, and this is where they want this to stick out in history so you can basically separate the two. And you should separate the two, but you can't separate the fact that Moors mean black. Moor is black, and not all Moors was traders like these guys. And any Moor that you see that's practicing Islam is a trader. Any Moor you see with that fez or that turban on their head is a trader. There's just no way around it. Now, supposedly, you get the name.
Did he answer your question, Forrest Convalescent? Basically, he's saying that the Moors that you see today do not recognize that they are traders. That when you join in with the Fez and Islam, you are a traitor to Black people. And that's the point I wanted to hit on.
Moors from Mauritania, or Mauritania, how we want to pronounce it. But Mauritania is basically the northern part of Morocco, stretching over to the northern part of Algeria. So these people was called the Morai by the Greeks, and the Romans called them the same thing, basically meaning, black, another one of those M words. So you have Mauritania. This is where you supposedly had these black people coming from. The natives there was black. And this is supposedly where the word Moor derives from. So then you have Saint Maurice. Saint Maurice, who was basically...
You notice that Ma is water, is mom, is woman. So Black woman. It represents Black woman, Ma. And it also represents Blackness. And it also represents water. So there you go.
The patron saint of France, Switzerland. He basically was the leader of the Roman Theban Legion in the 3rd century AD, which the 3rd century, again, before Islam. So again, Maurice is another Moorish name. This dude picture is everywhere, and he is black. They don't change that because it's too much information that supports this dude being, a black, a Catholic. So again, some stuff they just can't hide because there's too much proof out there. And it's because they can't hide these things. It's how we're able to piece together, these things, history.
Okay, that's it for that one. Let's go into... Let's stop that and share. Let me look at your questions and stuff now. Okay. Welcome, Bronze Keen. Okay. Yeah, I hope he answered your question, because today we can recognize them. They agree upon that group, and that's what they are. They represent traders. And that's interesting. Sounds like it was brought on by identity crisis. Yes, that's all we suffer from is identity crisis. And they take advantage of that and they spread their lies. So basically, they hid that we naturally are Christians. And what I mean by Christian is we hold the Christ, each Black person holds the Christ. Now, the opposition to them is to take that Christ and take it away. But a lot of us agree to sacrifice our Christ. We give up our abilities and we give it to them. We give up our souls and we give it to them. We work for them. A lot of our people want to work for them, want to be them, become them, because they have been able to. The devil has been able. We want to put it in terms of the devil. The devil has been able to compromise us and take control over our lives, basically. And we don't know, we don't think that it's in the physical form, but it's very much in the physical form. And I wanted to, of course, we know that they do produce melanin, but they produce a different type of melanin. their melanin, and all of this goes into, it's proof of the energies I'm talking about, how we're two different energies, two different types of energies, because from when you break down the physical, you get back to liquefied, and then you get from the liquid, you get back to evaporation, right? And you get back to energy, nothing more than energy. That's all that's left. So the chemical breakdown of them is very different than the chemical breakdown of us. That's a fact. Scientific facts that we can deal with, we can work with. That is evidence to what we deal with in the physical. And a lot of our people, a lot of people would say right now, what does that have to do with today? A lot to do with today. What happens in the past is the same thing. There's nothing new under the sun. And the sun is not even under us. We're not even under the sun. The sun is in us. I talk about this. Anubis is no more than that guide within us. The Ba in us. When we look at the word Anubis, it's Ba in us. Sun in us. It's trying to tell you that you have a higher guide and that you don't need to deal with these things outside of ourselves. Every time we dealt with it outside of ourselves, centuries and centuries have taught us that it's always been a downfall. The fall of Christian values are what stopped human sacrifices and built the most civil civilization. Well, there was never human sacrifices. That's all the white man's thing. You see, that's the white man's energy for us to come a lesson. So basically, what you're saying that because basically the fall of Rome was the fall of us as African people. We never had human sacrifices. We never had those things. Now, there was not Christian values. There was never Christian values. There was just Christian people. There were people who had values of life. And you came in late, but I'm going to share with you those principles. We had principles. And that's the principles that I'm going to start my shows off with, to give people the understanding, 7 principles of Ma'at. And this is what we try to, but white man cannot hold these things. This is our Christian, this is what rises our Kundalini, our Christian, our soul. Christos is the oil within us, of the soul. So our Christ is our soul, is our higher self, our guide. So within us, and everything saying that is in us, God means guide. And that only guide you have is within you. So it was no Christian in anything outside of you. All of this is within the Black man and Black woman today. The only thing is, we're not balanced. We're in an imbalanced state because we're not receiving this. This has not been reciprocated back to us, but we are giving it to the planet. But we are also we've been tricked away from this as well. We've been tricked away from it. So that's why you see no truth in the planet, no justice in the planet, no harmony in the planet, no balance in the planet, no order in the planet, no reciprocity in the planet, no propriety in the planet. Today, this is today. You do not see these things today. And so let me put that. We do not see that today. You see. We were the pagans. They twisted on us and they called us pagans because we took care of nature. We do have, we worked with nature. We worked magic. Anybody, and that's why we had science. We had science, high science. And as he says, these Moors, there was a few Moors that were like high priests that took advantage of the whole situation. And they ended up mixing amongst these people. They were traitors, and they held a lot of our high science. That's why Europe deals with our science, our high magic science and stuff like that. That's where you get Harry Potter and all that stuff. All that stuff was the black man and black woman's abilities. And it's only our abilities. We're psychic by nature. They're psychic, but they're psychic on a fake level, on this illusionary level, which really doesn't work, because if you ever dealt with them, a lot of things, it's just you're dealing with illusions, you're dealing with lies. You're always going to deal with lies on this level, with dealing with their energies. And their energies is weak and doesn't work, because so they called us the pagans to get us to not do our practices, our high science practices. And and that's what I'm talking about when I was talking to you about how to protect yourself. And long as you are illuminating nature instead of man, you're always going to be empowered. And also nature, like I said before, nature got your back, life got your back. But when you go outside of that and you're dealing with what's outside of us, that energy, you're dabbling in that energy, you're going to fall like they're going to fall, like they're falling. We're going to fall like they're falling. But to prevent us from the same fate that they're existing under, because we can see today that white people are no good on this planet. They are no good for us on this planet, and they never have been. And like I said, centuries and centuries will tell you that, because they're dishonest in a lot of things. They taken our science and now they're calling themselves witches. They're calling themselves priests, voodoo doctors, and all this stuff. Witch doctors and voodoo priests and all this stuff. But the whole thing is they built an illusion over our truth. And it does them no good, because they can't do what we do. They can never. You can look at the world and look at the planet now. It's falling. That's all it can ever do is decline. It can never go up. All it can do is decline. That's the fact. That's the fact of science. Sulfur and ammonia is what their basis of their melanin. And that's a fact. Melanin is important and critical to life. And our type of melanin that we have is critical to life, because it's the black matter. And we have selenium base. So we're totally different. So when we race mix, we're only doing it to our detriment. And that's been shown throughout science. You're also wiping away your Christ within yourself, the God. You're killing the Christ within yourself when you mix race with these people. He said, I was just thinking how powerful is VUDU if it ran 3 sets of colonizers out of Haiti. Yeah, exactly. Voodoo. Yeah, it is powerful, but we have to go within ourselves and deal with it. We have to go within ourselves and create these things. I remember my last video before I left, before they knocked me off, was about the White House. I don't think y'all caught that, but I said that I sent, who was it? Somebody made a comment about he's a clown, like, we can just speak things and it'll happen. That's how potent our magic is. We can speak things and it'll happen. Like even now we're talking, we can make things happen. We're actually doing magic because we're making our people's minds, critical thinking is important. Don't think that racism is a modern day invention. By no means. This has been going on, like I said, since 7,000 years ago that these people arrived on our planet. They recognized their survival was in threat mode. So they, with the animal mind, had to come up with the best way they know to, with their wicked ways and nature, through their nature, and that nature cannot be changed. Their nature cannot be changed. You cannot change nature. Jane Allen, right now she's saying she's every Black person's cousin and that she too come from Africa, which is a lie. She cannot live in her truth. She can live in it to a certain point until she gets you pulled in. And once she got you pulled in, she's good, right? And she's got a lot of our people pulled in. A lot of our people are saying she's awoke. But, is that really woke? Just knowing about modern day racism, is that really woke? If that's woke, then yeah, I think that the Black woman, again, has every right to be angry. So thus giving us the angry Black woman, thus you're not asking the question why. Why is the woman angry? What can I do to change it? No, that's not even taken in consideration. But you can keep doing things to make her angry. You can keep doing things to make her angry. But is that a man? Is that men? Is that a real man? Can you call that a real man? No, because no one really knows how to be a man, a real man. And it goes back to everything's been hidden from us, who we are, how we went about doing things, and the truth about us. Because they want us to think that we're the same as their nature. Right now, we're all on this low energy level with them. So we're thinking that from that point of view, from a low energy point of view, we're not seeing things from a higher point of view of self, because they got us pulled down and seeing it from their animal level. So we always think that we were always survival mode, but we weren't always survival mode. We weren't always in a survival mode, by no means. But to let them tell it, there's always been war on the planet. We've always been divided, but that's not true. They divided us. They divided the planet. They divided everything. We never did that. There was one big empire, and it was an empire of the Christ within each person. That was what they lived upon. With the principles of Ma'at, which is nothing more than principles of balance. So the principle of balance ruled over the planet at one time. Now we have principalities of imbalance. That's what we're dealing with, and that's what we dealt with since the fall of Rome. And before the fall of Rome, they were putting into action. That's why you see Egypt. That's why you see Egypt fell. That's why you see all these other civilizations fell. They fell because they had started dividing things, and they started mixing. That's how we got all these other groups, is through the mixing. Of course, they lived amongst us for a short period of time, but then the mixing started, and that's why they can turn us today against the Egyptians and say the Egyptians were like Solomon and Gomorrah, and they can say all this stuff about, you know, Solomon and Gomorrah. Solomon and Gomorrah is the dark ages that we're in today, since all our civilizations fell, because of this white man, and white woman. No, they're not from Africa, and the Bible even tells you that. They were actually in Mesopotamia. They were actually in Mesopotamia. No, I don't trust that Jane woman either. That Jane woman, like I said, she, you know, their women are always used to come forward and to put you to sleep. And that's what she's about. Putting the Black community to sleep, saying you are me, I'm you. You bleed, I bleed. So does an ant and an elephant bleed. So does that make me an elephant? Does that make me connected? But like I said, it's oppositional energies when we look at it that way. And we know that from a science point of view, there's going to be colors representing your energy level. Now, they're low energy beings because they're without substance, without color. And we're high energy beings, not only because of their color, but because of their makeup, because we know that we have our own group of people within our race that are pale skinned as well, but that doesn't mean that they don't share. That doesn't mean that they don't share our melanin. They share the same type of melanin we do. Even our albinos share the same type of melanin we do. They have a sulfur and ammonia based melanin. So anybody who mixes with them, you're giving your children death. You're giving your children death. This is why they have bugs in their hair, and they're representatives of parasites, of the what's those little worms that come out of the meats? Magnets. They're representative of magnets. And if we don't see from nature telling us what they are, no, albinos have melanin. They just don't make it. They just don't produce it for skin, hair, and eye. They contain melanin because I know this for a fact, Dee, because my friend, she was albino. Let me see if I can pull up her picture, because you playing with me. Let me see if I can pull up my friend's picture. If she's still on Facebook, if her family didn't take her Facebook down. Let me see here. And my friend had Black children. She was your albino. She was albino, and I'm talking about she was a real albino. No, it was considered a curse for the white people. White people probably did that. They rewrote our whole Bible. But yes, it is considered a curse because your body cannot live without melanin, without melanin on the skin. It has to be on the skin. Okay, so they produce melanin, but they don't produce it for the skin, hair, and eyes. So my friend Michelle D, she had Black children. She had a Black son and she had a Black daughter. And she had a Black brother. But she did not have color on her skin. But I still knew she was a Black woman. And her hair texture was like mine. And the only thing was we have Black albinos, they have white albinos as well. The white albinos just don't produce the sulfur-based, ammonium-based melanin that they have, which is pheomelanin on the skin, hair, and eyes. Instead, they just don't create anything on the skin, face, and hair. Skin, hair, and eyes. So they're just basically, we're energy, D. We're energy. And a lot of people want to say that white people can reach the height of divinity. No, they can't reach the height of divinity. They can fake divinity on the planet. But even if they fake in divinity on the planet, godly, shouldn't the planet be better? Shouldn't we, or they have made the minds of our people even think that they can't do better. They cannot do better. That's a fact. For them to exist, better for us cannot exist. Exactly. They do create melanin, but they do have a reduced amount of it. You're right. But they can produce children. Albino white person can produce a white child. Albino Black person can produce a Black child. Don't get it misconstrued. They still have melanin within themselves. Yes, and yes, it's a curse, but curse, what is curse? Curse means a bad thing that can happen to someone. It doesn't mean we're seeing things from a point of view of white people. We're seeing things from a point of view of white people. If you're Black and you're rich in color and rich in a lot of other things within yourself, talent, gifts, everything. My family, we're good at gardening. We got green thumbs. So if you're good at those things, then why, and white people never could do those things until we taught them and showed them, which was a downfall for us. Well, ignorance is bliss. They're not going to tell you the truth. Let me tell you, D, it is melanin in everybody. Every creature they wouldn't be alive if they didn't have melanin, D. They couldn't live without the melanin. They were born by melanin people. White people are born by melanin people. That's how you get a being. You can't be a being without melanin. You can't exist on planet without melanin. That's why we have to critically think. Every creature has melanin. Now, like I said, white people have a different type of melanin, but they do still have They still do have our uromelanin in them. Hold on. But it's not life for them. It's not, it's only for their organs, their brain, and their, hey, you can talk. How you doing? Welcome. It's only for their organs, but they don't have it in the, and they don't have your melanin in certain other places. But melanin, you cannot have a person, you cannot exist, or an animal. You can't have an animal without melanin. But animals make albinos too. And yes, albinos are weak on the planet. I don't care where they come from. They come from an elephant albino, it's going to die. It's going to die. It's not going to be able to live on the planet as a physical existence. Because like I said, we go back to being energies. So that's what that's saying. It's not saying a curse like we think a curse is. It's saying that it's going to have a hard time of survival. It's not going to be able to live. Because my friend, she passed away from cancer. And cancer is the #1 killer of albinos on the planet. Even animal albinos can't live. They live a short period of time. They don't live, period, a very long time. Because nothing, you need some sort of melanin on the skin. And even white people can't live. That's their whole problem. They're very weak. They can't live, period. Because of the sun, what's in us, and the energies. They can't live because of the energies. That's why they have to keep our energy frequency low. That's why they changed our music from 432 hertz into this music that we're listening to now. Because 432 hertz used to heal us, connect with our melanin and heal us mentally, physically, everything. So they were able to put cocaine into our communities and change our music from 432 hertz. Because of our supreme existence. Superior and supreme existence. You know, I have nothing against their supreme existence if they wouldn't impose it upon us. If they wouldn't impose it upon us. Now we have a right to our superior existence. If we would love ourselves, stand up and remove ourselves from their control and their grips. If we can recognize the pot of gold within ourselves as a people. And that's all I'm trying to say, is that before all their chaotic lies and all this stuff, we were a great builder of civilization, of balance, of truth, of justice, of everything. It's the albino dies like the white man. It's just the white man doesn't die as quick as the albinos, because the white man when you dye your skin white, you're asking for trouble because you're going to have a short lifespan. But white man has been able to increase his lifespan through us. He's killing us and we're giving him life. So we need to change it. We really need to change it. We need to understand our past so we don't repeat our future. In the past, they've always came amongst us, mixed amongst us, and it's been our downfall. And like I said in the beginning, we've always given them life and they've taken life from us. So something has to give. We have got to think critical and with the intellect instead of with the animal mind. So with this said, I'm gonna go because my children are awake now and they're being loud, and I don't want you all to hear that on the video. Yes. Thank you for being here. You can talk your way to healthy relationships. I'm definitely going to check out your channel and subscribe. And each one of you guys, thank you for being here. And if you have a channel, please share it in the comments. Please share it in the chat, and we'll definitely go and check your channel out. But I'd like to thank you all for being here, Miss Life Lessons.
Why she had the tennis thing and she's breaking
Camp
it.
Howardton, Forced
She's breaking
Convalescence,
this. Don't let Shanna have this.
G Calico, Indigenous Copper Tone. Thank you guys. Thank you all, each and every one of you for being here and making this an exciting video today with us. It's nothing like having a conversation. And I wish, great meeting you, great having you here. And remember, our balance is our protection. We know our journey, we know our purpose. We are very special people, each one of us are. Very purposeful people here on the planet. Do not think otherwise, ever. Always have self-affirmation in the mirror with yourself. Know who you are. Know that you are very important to this planet at this time. And make a pledge to protect yourself, that you're going to love and protect yourself. And talk with your higher self. Meditate and speak with your higher self. Connect with your higher self. Connect with nature. Go on a nature walk. See the beauty. Know and say aloud that the beauty of the world is within you. The beauty of the world is yours. And it's all around you. And that's your protection. That's nature. That's your connection. And with that said, family, you stay safe out there. True love, real peace, the higher self within us, the soul. Till next time. Peace.